Let's just dive right into this explainer, because we're going to solve a super frustrating garden mystery that honestly has probably baffled you at some point. Picture this. You walk out to your tomato bed, and you notice your leaves are turning this sickly yellow color. Right away, you probably assume it's heat damage, or maybe old age, or, some mysterious disease. But what if I told you it's actually your plant calling out, in literally the only language it has, for a missing mineral? So today we're going to look at why that $40 bottle of fertilizer sitting in your garage won't actually fix this problem, and how a 400-year-old secret, basically just a plain white powder sitting on the bottom shelf of your local pharmacy for like $2, is the absolute cure.
Now, this specific yellowing pattern actually has a scientific name. It's called interveinal chlorosis. And this isn't just some random fading, okay? What happens is the plant's tissue between the veins turns pale, but the veins themselves, they stubbornly hold on to their dark green color. It's wild to see. It almost always starts on the older, lower leaves right near the soil. The plant keeps growing upward, looking totally fine at the top, but that lower canopy just kind of thins out. Your tomatoes come in smaller, your peppers set fewer fruits. The thing to remember here is that it's not a disease at all. It's a desperate cry for one specific, missing nutrient.
And man, this brings us to a trap that so many of us fall into. We immediately assume the expensive, flashy bag of branded tomato food is going to be the magic fix. We see NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, plastered all over the bright label, and we think, yep, that's exactly what the garden needs. But here's the catch. If you've been gardening that exact same plot for decades, constantly harvesting, and only ever putting those 3 macronutrients back in, your soil isn't bankrupt of nitrogen. It's simply out of the trace minerals that actually run the engine. You're basically just feeding the plant more of what it already has, while completely ignoring that $2 pharmacy powder.
Dr. Neil Mattson over at Cornell University hits the nail on the head with this. He says, if you're seeing that interveinal chlorosis, the yellow leaves with the green veins, your plant is short on magnesium. But if the whole leaf is turning yellow from top to bottom, then it's short on sulfur. It really is that simple. The missing nutrient isn't hiding in those brightly colored bags lining the garden center walls. Your soil is completely out of 2 quiet trace minerals that act as the literal building blocks of your plant's botanical engine.
The history behind this is absolutely fascinating. It actually all starts way back during a brutal summer drought in 1618 in Surrey, England. A farmer named Henry Wicker noticed that his thirsty cows were straight up refusing to drink from a natural spring. The water was super sharp and bitter. But get this, the grass around that spring was incredibly thick and deep green even with the severe drought going on. So Wicker boils the water down and he finds crystals of magnesium and sulfur, which literally gave birth to what we now call Epsom salt. Fast forward a bit to 1906, and chemists finally figured out the why. They discovered a single atom of magnesium locked inside every single chlorophyll molecule. Then, in 1915, a German chemist named Richard Willstetter actually won the Nobel Prize for proving this exact structural keystone. He definitively proved that our $2 pharmacy powder is a scientifically validated miracle.
Okay, so what was the actual science behind that Nobel Prize? Well, think of magnesium as the engine of your plant. Without it, chlorophyll simply cannot exist in a working form. And no chlorophyll means no photosynthesis, no sugars, and definitely no fruit. Then you have sulfur, right? The second mineral in Epsom salt. Think of sulfur as the key to the front door. It literally switches on the enzymes that allow the plant to take nitrogen and turn it into the amino acids needed to build proteins. You could have all the nitrogen groceries sitting right there on the front porch, but without sulfur to unlock the door, the plant just can't use them.
So how do we actually fix this? First things first, you have to buy the right powder. And that means skipping the garden center altogether. Just head to your local pharmacy or grocery store. You're looking for a plain 10-pound bag, which will run you about $8 and should easily last a typical home garden the entire season. Now here's the absolutely crucial part. It must say magnesium sulfate USP grade in the ingredients. And please, before you go spraying this everywhere, make absolutely sure you are buying pure magnesium sulfate with 0 added scents. Those lavender and eucalyptus blends, yeah, they're fantastic for a relaxing foot soak, but they will absolutely burn your plant's tissue.
All right, once you've got the right powder, you've got 2 different ways to apply it. For a fast-acting fix, you're going to want to do a foliar spray. Just take 1 level teaspoon and dissolve it into a gallon of room temperature water until it's completely clear. Pour that mixture into a hand pump pressure sprayer and gently mist both the tops and the undersides of the leaves. The magnesium absorbs straight through the leaf surface in a matter of hours. But listen, timing is literally everything here. Never ever apply this under the blazing midday sun or you will scorch those leaves for sure. Always stick to the early morning or the cool of the evening.
Now, your second option is the root drench. If you want a slower, deeper release, something that stays available down in the root zone for, say, 10 to 14 days, this is definitely your best bet. Notice the measurement difference here, though.
For the drench, you're dissolving 1 full tablespoon, which is 3 teaspoons, into a gallon of water. You just pour this right at the base of the plant, exactly where the stem meets the soil. If you've got heavy feeders, you can go ahead and do this once a month during the early growth phase, and then bump it up to every 2 weeks once those flowers start popping up.
Of course, different plants are going to need slightly different schedules. For your tomatoes, you'll want to apply that foliar spray 3 times. At transplant, when the first flower appears, and then again when the early fruit is about the size of a marble. For roses, a really cool master gardener trick is to literally scratch a half cup of dry Epsom salt into the spring soil right as the canes break dormancy. Peppers, they just need a foliar spray at their first bloom and then another one exactly 10 days later. And for citrus trees, especially if you're growing them in containers where minerals constantly wash out, a monthly root drench works absolute wonders. Just keep this schedule in mind and remember the golden rule here: do not double the dose. Seriously, adding excess magnesium will actually block calcium and other nutrients from entering the plant, meaning you're just creating 2 brand new problems while trying to solve the first one.
Okay, we really need to bust some internet myths right now, because bad advice can absolutely ruin a perfectly good garden. First up, Epsom salt does not cure blossom end rot in tomatoes. That rot is caused by a calcium shortage. Because magnesium and calcium actually compete for the exact same pathways in the roots, dumping Epsom salt on there is just going to make the rot worse. Second myth, it does not speed up seed germination. In fact, concentrated doses will pull water right away from the seed coat, slowing the whole process down. And third, it does not fix already rich soil. Remember, Epsom salt only reverses a deficiency. If there's no deficiency to begin with, there's nothing for it to reverse.
Which brings us to a really important number, $15. Because Epsom salt only works if there's an actual deficiency in your dirt, spending $15 on a county extension soil test is hands down the smartest gardening investment you can make all year. If that test comes back showing low magnesium, well, this explainer just paid for itself 10 times over. And if your magnesium levels are totally fine, you just saved yourself a ton of time chasing down a problem you don't even have.
So that really leads us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? If Henry Wicker stumbled onto this 400 years ago and a literal Nobel Prize proved it works a full century ago, and agricultural institutions have been testing it for decades, why on earth isn't this sitting on the front shelf of every single garden center? Why does it feel like the fertilization industry is essentially hiding this from us, leaving us to just sort of stumble across the secret on our own? Well, it's not some crazy conspiracy, it's really just about how money flows. Back in 1947, right after World War II, all these munitions plants pivoted to manufacturing nitrogen-based fertilizers. Companies started creating proprietary ratios of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. They could trademark these blends, patent them, and build this massive moat around their product to justify huge marketing budgets. But magnesium sulfate, it's just a pure, identical mineral compound. It is completely unpatentable. There is zero chance a marketing department is going to spend millions promoting a cheap product that every single competitor sells for the exact same price. So those heavily marketed, patented NPK blends grabbed the front shelves while pure Epsom salt was quietly pushed down to the pharmacy bottom shelves. So before you go out and drop real money on the wrong shiny bottle this weekend, take a slow walk through your beds. Check those lower tomato leaves. Take a good look at your rose canes. The garden has always been patient, right? It's just waiting for you to notice what it's trying to tell you. Ask yourself, is your garden's engine quietly running on empty? Because if the answer is yes, you now know exactly what to do. Go grab that $2 bag, follow the science we laid out today, and watch your plants thrive. But man, it really does make you wonder, if a 400-year-old cure for your tomatoes is just quietly hiding on a pharmacy bottom shelf, what other garden miracles has the fertilizer industry made us forget?